Okay, so I'll repeat the important last part to put that in a nutshell. Once you accept a causal decision theory, according to which you act for the sake of what your decision causes, and not act for the sake of what your decision or what your choice gives evidence of, then you also accept automatically a causal myth or story which has been told, or differently put, at a time when, as the reviewer himself or herself stated, the causal links of a correlation are not too obvious, as in the current case, there is too little reason to argue about decisions using a causal decision theory. Even if it is, as I too am a practical person, believe better than evidential decision theory in the very end when the causal links are clear, then it doesn't, there is no use in a choice that doesn't affect anything in your surroundings. But as long as you don't know that, what happens, you cannot accept the causal decision theory. Before the causal story is verified, you should not base decisions on causal decision-theoretic arguments. I now turn to the second to the second point here, to the first technical flaw which the reviewer sees in my article, and there I must say that this was really a flaw. That Q fraction I mentioned in the article of that is the percentage of gays who became gay because of that factor. Given they become the probability of having that factor, that genetic crazy about men gene factor, given they become homosexual, the probability, how likely it is that they have the factor given they are homosexual. And I first assumed that this factor is 14%, which was wrong, as the reviewer rightly remarked. Now, the first technical flaw concerns the estimation of the probability PS2 given C2, as I said. This parameter in the author's payoff matrix is the probability that the genetic factor for female fecundity and male homosexuality are present, given the focal individual is homosexual. The author estimates P of S2 given C2 equals 0.14 from Camperio Ciani et al. From that paper. But unless I misunderstand where this estimation comes from, in Camperio Ciani et al., 14% is the part of variance of the probability of being homosexual, explained by the number of homosexuals in relatives in a logistic regression. So it cannot be used as an estimate of P of S2 given C2. It is a major flaw because the payoff matrix is the central part of the paper. Furthermore, the only estimate the author proposed for the parameter of this matrix is P of S2 given C2, which is completely wrong as long as I understand. My reply: this criticism is entirely valid, and I thank the reviewer to have taken the pains to describe it at all. It is a terrible mistake which I made, and which shows my ignorance of basic statistical terminology. However, what I take to be 14% can be replaced in the paper by some fraction Q, as in the current version I presented, by some fraction Q, which gives the fraction of those homosexuals in a sample group whose sexual behavior has been caused by the genetic factor in question, by the maternally inherited crazy about men gene. So, no rejection is to be advised here for but some kind of revision, some kind of mere substitution of that 14% by some q fraction, by some q percentage. No big deal here. Now there is still some time left before I will give answers to other objections, and in the time that is left I can talk a little bit about other comments I received from other journals. It was especially interesting that the journals tried to hand me over to the other journal in a chain, which in the end led me to the recommendation, try a philosophy journal. But at the beginning it was just like this. All the journals in the Nature publishing group, human genetics or nature itself and so on, they recommended me to try a behavioral ecology journal. The behavioral ecology journals advised me to go try a human evolution or evolution and human behavior journal, and the evolution and human behavior journals advised me that it was more appropriate in an evolutionary psychology journal. And now from the evolutionary psychology journal, I am somewhat, they advised me somewhat to try a philosophy journal. But when I tried to question their verdicts, I got pretty rude and unkind comments or replies back. This is obviously what happens when you question, and for good reasons and with good arguments. Even then, when you question their verdict. What did I have to read there? From the standpoint of the editor of a science journal, as opposed to a philosophy journal, a paper is speculative to the extent that it posits the existence or the possible existence of phenomena not hitherto documented empirically. I just talk about possibilities or options that may obtain. I do not posit the existence of some kind of mechanism that I describe hypothetically. It is good science. I develop a theory and tell how it can be tested. In the absence of backwards causation, your argument lacks an account of the evolution of